Makingascene.org brings you a buyer's guide to recording interfaces. All right, let's get right into it. We obsess over all the fun gear, right? Microphones, plugins, monitors. We spend hours researching them. But the recording interface? So often, it's just an afterthought. And according to makingascene.org, that's a huge mistake. Because that little box, well, that's the thing that decides if your studio feels like a creative playground or just a place full of frustrating roadblocks. So what's this thing actually doing? It's not just some adapter to get your mic talking to your computer. It's so much more than that. You got to think of it as the central nervous system for your entire creative setup. Okay, on the surface, yeah, it's got two main jobs. Job one, take the analog sound from your microphone and turn it into ones and zeros your computer can understand. That's recording. And job two is just the reverse. It takes all those ones and zeros and turns them back into sound you can actually hear from your speakers. That's listening. Simple enough, right? But, and this is a big but, that simple definition totally misses the point. The real story here, the thing that actually matters, is your workflow. We're talking about how many inputs and outputs it has, the quality of the preamps, how you can expand it later on, and, crucially, if the drivers are stable. That stuff, that's what's going to decide how your studio feels to work in. All right, you've seen them, you pick up any interface box, and it's covered in numbers. That can seem pretty intimidating. So let's break down the two big ones you're always going to see: sample rate and bit depth. And trust me, it's way less complicated than it sounds. First up, we've got sample rate. And right away, I want you to get the idea of higher is always better out of your head. It's not about that. It's a workflow choice. So look, if you're laser focused on music, for Spotify, that kind of thing, 44.1 kilohertz is still a totally pro standard. But if your world also includes video, maybe you're making content for YouTube or Instagram, then you really want to be working at 48 kilohertz from the get-go. It will save you so many headaches. So here's the bottom line. For the modern creator, the person who's doing it all, making music one day, shooting a video the next, this right here, 24-bit at 48 kilohertz, this is your magic number. It's the smart default. It's that perfect sweet spot that lets your audio work seamlessly for both music and video, all without totally bogging down your computer. So what about those really high numbers, right? Like 96K or even 192K. They sound impressive, but they're not some automatic quality button. Think of them as specialized tools for really demanding tasks. If you're doing super detailed sound design or some extreme pitch shifting, yeah, that extra data can be a lifesaver. For the rest of us, though, it's mostly just going to chew up your storage and your CPU power. And let's be real, a bad recording in a bad room is still a bad recording, no matter how many kilohertz you throw at it. Okay, on to that other number, bit depth. Here's a simple way to think about it. If sample rate is how many pictures you're taking of the sound per second, bit depth is how much detail and color is in each one of those pictures. And in our world, in the studio, that detail translates directly into something called dynamic range. And this chart just makes it so clear. With 16-bit audio, the old CD standard, you get 96 decibels of dynamic range. That's the space between your quietest and loudest sounds. But look at 24-bit. It gives you a massive 144 dB. That huge leap is exactly why 24-bit is the only way to go for recording now. It's a gigantic safety net. It means you don't have to panic if a singer gets a little too loud on one take. You've got room to breathe. All right, enough with the numbers on the box. Let's talk about what actually matters when you're in the middle of a session. Let's talk about how sound physically moves around your room. We're talking signal paths. Now, this is so important because this is where a lot of people get into trouble. See, most entry-level interfaces come with built-in preamps. You just plug in your microphone and you're ready to go. Awesome. But as you move up the ladder, you'll find interfaces that are line level only. That means they expect you to already own separate outboard preamps. And buying one of those by mistake, well, it's a really frustrating day when you realize you can't record anything. Everyone's always focused on one thing: inputs. How many inputs does it have? It's always the first question. But I want you to flip that around. I want you to ask yourself a different question, one that's actually way more important for where your studio's going. And that question is, how many outputs do you need? Seriously, because outputs are where all the cool creative stuff starts to happen as you grow. You want to patch in that awesome hardware compressor you just bought? You need outputs. You need to give every musician in the band their own separate headphone mix? Yup, you need more outputs. Connecting a second set of speakers, sending your mix out to a summing mixer. It's all about the outputs. They are the key to unlocking a truly flexible studio. Okay, so keeping all of that in mind, let's get down to brass tacks. Let's figure out where you actually fit in this whole landscape. We're going to break this down into 3 simple tiers to help you find the right piece of gear for you. First up, we've got the entry tier. This is for you if you're a first-time buyer, a singer-songwriter, or a solo artist. You're looking at things like the Scarlett 2i2, the UA Volt, or the Apogee Boom. These are all about one thing: getting a great sound fast, without any hassle. They just have that let's get to work vibe. You're buying results, not a confusing spec sheet. Okay, next up is what we're calling the growth tier. This is where you start thinking ahead a little bit. Maybe you know you're going to be adding more mics soon, or you're getting into synthesizers. An interface like a Scarlett 18i20 or a Motu 828, these give you the extra I/O you'll need to grow, so you're not forced to buy a whole new interface in 6 months. This is the tier for making a smart, strategic purchase. And finally, we have the Serious Project Studio tier. Now, at this point, you're not really just buying a box anymore. You're investing in an entire ecosystem. You're choosing a workflow. Whether that's the built-in processing power you get with the Universal Audio Apollo or the insane networking possibilities of Motu's interfaces, the decision here is really about how you want your whole studio to operate as one single powerful system. So we've gone through a lot: the specs, the I/O, the different tiers. But what's the one thing you should walk away with? What's the real golden rule for buying an interface, no matter your budget? It's actually pretty simple. You have to be honest with yourself. The smartest purchase, the best interface for you, isn't the one with the most inputs or the highest sample rate. It's the one that matches the work you are actually doing today, while giving you just a little bit of room for that next realistic step you know is coming. Because at the end of the day, it all comes back to this one idea. A great interface won't make you a better songwriter, but what the right one will do is it gets out of your way. It removes all those little technical headaches, all that friction that stops you from actually creating. A good interface just lets you focus on the only thing that really matters: the music. Make sure you check out the other great articles and resources on makingascene.org, the place the indie artist goes to build the new music industry.